I knew I was going to go for the Olympics, but I didn't know how. My parents came to my first fight. My brother told me, and my mom had like her eyes covered the entire time.
She's not the only boxer in the room though.
You're the boxer?
I get busy. Do you feel any pressure, like literally fighting for Bangladesh?
And I didn't realize how much the pressure was getting to me until fight day. We were also battling the cultural stereotypes, right? Of just like, as a woman, can I do it? As an athlete, can I do it? Can I really represent Bangladesh and win? I actually have a little gift for you guys.
Oh my god, what?
Oh my god.
This is for you.
Wait.
Oh my.
Hello everyone, welcome back to our beautiful podcast. We are literally so excited to start off the new season with a new guest episode with our dear friend Zinnat Ferdous. She is a longtime friend of mine and she has been killing it in the space recently. She is a boxer who is qualifying for the Olympics, and she also has a full-time job at Google. She is a born and raised New Yorker, a Bangladeshi American, and she is literally killing it, and we are so excited for you to learn about her struggles, her journey with becoming a professional boxer while also navigating this workspace, her parents' reactions, and just how hard and fruitful and gratifying it is to represent Bangladesh, especially as an American. But we are so excited for you to listen to this episode, learn more about her, and we hope you enjoy.
Thank you so much for coming back to another episode of Difficult-ish, podcast about South Asian narratives, hosted by my co-host right next to me right here.
Mahua Khan, this is my co-host right here.
I'm the co-host. My name's Masha Munir, and we have a guest co-host today. As you can see, there's someone else on the screen. You want to go ahead and introduce our new friend for the day?
We got someone special here today. She's a New York bred girl. Okay, Zinnat Ferdous is a Bangladeshi American New Yorker who works a demanding full-time job at Google by day and competes as a boxer for the Olympics by night.
Oh my god.
She is the first female boxer to represent Bangladesh, a 2023 U.S. national champion, just won a gold medal and was given the best female boxer trophy in Portugal. Many people train their whole lives to compete for the Olympics and international matches, but what's even more incredible is that this is simply a passion that she just picked up in her early adult years.
Oh my god.
We are so excited to welcome Zinnat and learn more about her and her inspiring journey and work ethic.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We're so
yes,
excited
sir.
to have you.
Aw,
Yes,
I
sir.
love
Thank you
that
so much for coming
intro.
on. Thank you so
Bro,
much for coming on.
you're killing it.
Yeah.
You are literally killing it. Like, I already complimented her muscles, but me I saw a Muay Thai boxing event in Thailand recently, and they were beating the crap out of each other. And I was like, this is what she does every single day.
Yeah.
And she wins every single match.
She's not the only boxer in the room though.
You're the boxer?
I get busy. I get
You
busy.
box?
I've taken a couple classes.
And?
Yeah, I'll show y'all something later.
I thought we have another boxer here too.
Oh,
hey, man,
we got a
this
room
3 for 3.
full of
This
three
is 3 for
boxers.
3.
Let's talk about that one
Yeah,
too.
she doesn't play.
I don't play, but you know what? I don't got the muscle like you, but
You can
you
get
know,
there.
I
You
can
can
you got
get
some
there.
combos.
I can get there, but I don't train twice a day like you, but
You train
we can all
twice a
get
day?
there.
That's crazy.
I think the moral of my story is it's never too late.
Yeah, my girl started later in her game, but she's still killing it. But I'm really excited about this because I feel like it's very rare to hear about just an incredible like Bangladeshi American story about working on both things, especially something in a very male dominated field. But I feel like both things are still very male dominated. You working in tech or you being a competitor in a boxing thing. But yeah, I'm really excited to hear about it all.
Yeah. I mean, I'll maybe give some background.
Yeah, go ahead.
Born and raised in Astoria, Queens.
Mm-hmm.
Parents moved here back in the 80s from Bangladesh. And as I was telling you earlier, my parents moved in with all of their family members. So it was like a clan of Bangladeshis that moved into Ditmars. And, fast forward 30 years later, they're all there, And so I think my upbringing was really rooted in Queens, in New York City. And I when we think about future career, it's very much like a professional job, right? Mm-hmm. Mom and dad is always encouraged, go to school, become something of yourself, because we had a humble beginning, right? Mm-hmm. We couldn't give you what, a very established family can. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know, I think my former years, when I thought of what my future looks like 5 to 10 years later, it was like, I'm going to have a great job. Mm-hmm. I'm going to lead a team. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be a badass woman in the professional world. And that's exactly what I tried doing. Graduated from Barnard. So pretty much stayed in New York my entire life, graduated from Barnard, and then entered the tech world. Kicked off my career at Yelp. I started in sales, and then from Yelp went to Google, and that's kind of where I'm at now.
It's so crazy because I feel like me and you, we both grew up in New York, had very humble beginnings, and when a lot of people ask us, like, where does your motivation for your work come from? A great answer, and something that is obviously true, is that we're passionate about it and that we have great work ethic. But I think another part of it is also just we were taught to help our family members out, and there's no option to fail. Like, you have to succeed in whatever you do and be really great at it. So the work ethic comes from obviously our passion and us wanting to genuinely do the thing, but it's also that we have to be the ones to help our parents out. And like, we saw them struggling or whatever it is, and we just want to help them get out of that situation, you know?
It's out of necessity.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I couldn't even, at that time, even though I wanted to do something fun or wanted to find a hobby, I didn't have the room to have that come up as a topic or be a part of the conversation, because I knew I had to help pay the bills, or I needed to create this future for me. And I think, you know, I was able to pick this up, very privileged to pick this up in my mid-20s, because I felt like, okay, I'm settled. Settled enough where I feel like I can pay the bills, I can help take care of my parents, and also have this mental space to pick up a hobby. And that's kind of when boxing came in the picture.
Yeah, I feel like it's interesting because, like, a lot of what we see nowadays on social media is you get, like, so many people are telling you to just start the hobby, like, now, regardless of what your situation is. And, you know, even if, you know, you don't have your life figured out, still try to spend as much time you have as possible on your creative endeavors. And I think that's the voice that I always tried to follow. But I think as you get older, you realize that, like, pursuing your hobbies is so much easier when you have, like, financial stability, and when, like, you know, your parents are like, okay, and your parents are not super down in the water like that anymore. And I don't know, I try to tell myself a lot nowadays, like, focus on making sure you're stable first, make sure that, like, you got financial stability, or you're as okay as possible, and then, you know, you allow yourself to have some more mental space to practice these, like, creative endeavors or just other hobbies like boxing or anything that you want to pick up, you know. So yeah, I feel like that gets mixed up a lot nowadays.
Yeah. How do you think your parents felt when you did get this tech job? Like, do you think you felt like you made it because you were like, okay, I'm bringing the financial, you know, gains in, and then also I'm proud to be here in this point in my career? Or did you feel like you were still at that point where you're missing out on other things because you did have to kind of grow up early and get into this professional route so early in your life, you know?
I felt like I definitely grew up early, starting in college, because I think that's when my dad had to retire early and just responsibilities were building up. But I never looked at it, I guess I looked at it very positively, right? It's like, I need to do this, and it's not a question or something I can complain about. It's like, how do I do this, right? How can I implement this in my day-to-day and not feel the pressure of it? And I found ways to make it work. But when I first graduated from college, they were super proud, right? My daughter went to an Ivy League, yada, yada, yada. And I think to them, name recognition is such a big thing, right? And so when I first got into Yelp, they're like, what's Yelp?
Yeah.
Is that what job is that? Why don't you go to like a big like bank or something, right? And so I think there was a time where I had to educate them, like, hey mom, tech is a big thing. And then they're like, sales. And I started off in a role where it's like very much commission based. So you have an okay base salary, but the real money comes from your commission. So I had to take a bet on myself, right? Like, I didn't even know if I was going to be good at sales. And I took this role, a fun company like Yelp. I know they had a really good training program. And I'm like, let me just see where this goes. And luckily, I feel like I had that, like, work ethic that allowed me to just really pull it through. And I did find my niche. Like, I think sales was a really, was the right career for me to start off with. I kicked it off when I was 22, and I just recently changed my scope at Google. But even at Google, I was in sales. But it took time for me to educate them, A. And then also B, for them, they tie how much money you're making to success.
Yeah.
And that part, I think, is really hard to change their mentality on, and that's fine. But I think because they saw both kind of line up, they then started becoming more supportive, right? After Yelp, I went to Google. So obviously that was a name that they recognized. Funny enough, when I brought my parents to Google for the first time, we have a lot of perks. One of you guys should come to.
Yeah, I heard you guys have a lot of perks.
Yeah, I see TikToks.
Breakfast,
come with me.
lunch, dinner. But aside from all the fun things, there's also great benefits for, like, health insurance, for women that wants to become pregnant and help aid for that. So many great benefits, but the one that was obvious to them was like the free food. So mom and dad went to get lunch, and she's like, well, where am I gonna pay for this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, Dad, it's free. And they're like, what?
How?
Free? And I think that was the first like aha, like wow, like this is a great company. And I think that was their first glimpse into that. But yeah, I think they're now like, I think once again, like part of getting them to grow is having these conversations of things that to help demystify what they do think about a certain job or a certain role, and help them reframe it, or help them, a lot of their thoughts come from things that they hear at the news or things from friends. How can I help them make more informed opinions? And that's kind of the role that I tried to play.
I'm surprised they didn't bring like Tupperware with them or something for the food.
God, I'm like, Mom, Dad, do not do that. We're not stuffing anything in your bags. But no, they're good about that.
But it's funny because even my parents, they don't really know much about, being a business owner like me, or, being an artist or an influencer, whatever the case is. But if I bring them to an event with me, like whether it's like a red carpet movie show or like a something with my art gallery, something like that, right? They understand a little bit better, like what you said, when they are there personally and they experience it. They're like, okay, it's more than just this one idea and stereotype that they had in their head, So it's like what I told you earlier, my mom finally being like, oh, bring some extra gifts for my friend that's leaving, like I know you have extra makeup. That's just something that they never thought would be possible, right? But it's like when you think of your daughter being in Google, that's a great thing that you can brag about, and it's an amazing accomplishment. But like, there's more to it, And even like, both of our parents, they always told us like, be a lawyer, be a doctor. And those are great, reputable careers. But beyond just like the money and like helping people, what else is there, And on top of that, there are so many other jobs that also do the same thing that they just might not know of. So it's really important to give them that introduction to other jobs, other things that bring their kid happiness. And yeah, it's great that you're doing that, and like letting them reap those benefits that you are reaping.
Yeah, they haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And so I think it is, sometimes I try to be in their shoes. It's hard to expect that if they haven't seen it. And then now they're seeing something with both my profession at Google, and then also outside of Google with boxing. When I would tell them about boxing, like I brought them in to my first fight and completely against it. And fast forward to now where we are, when I recently had a tournament in Bangladesh, my mom calls me and my mom's like, your dad's really busy these last few days. I'm like, why? He's like, Dad keeps looking you up on YouTube to see if there's any new videos that are coming out with you boxing. And I just started smiling like, wow, like there was a day when my mom and dad used to say, no, we don't want you to do this, we're not happy about it. And now they're so excited to see me in action. So I think it just takes a lot of time and work. And I think some kids are up against that challenge to get them there, and others aren't. But I highly encourage everyone to just take a step into their shoes and see how you can get them to think differently.
Yeah. I think also when I first met you and I knew you as a boxer who was also working this corporate job, I thought you were so freaking cool. But also, even if you're doing just one of those things, you're still cool. Even if you're not doing any of those things, you're still cool, right? But I think the story that you had going into boxing for the first time with your husband, who was your partner back then, but you didn't realize that it was going to be like a long-term career that you would actually get into, So I would love to hear more about just your introduction into boxing when you are working this corporate job and you're just kind of doing it as a hobby that you saw on, saw him when he was boxing.
Sure. I think we don't talk enough about burnout, but I think often you have these audacious goals, you work really hard. Burnout's a real thing. And I think, during college, I was working full-time. Got out of college, worked really hard at Yelp, got to Google.
That's insane. Working full-time while you're at an Ivy League that's a lot.
You just got to do what you got to do, right? And I got to Google, and I'm just like working my ass off trying to be the best I could be. And then obviously COVID hits, right? And I think all during this time I felt this like, just not like there's a need, there's a desire to find something more that makes me more passionate, that makes me feel like there's more to life. And I felt that way, but I just didn't have that time to to explore that. And so I think post college, I picked up like a couple of workout classes. I tried to figure out what is it that gets me excited. And then I met my husband. Back then we were dating back in 26. We started dating in 2016, and he was an avid boxer. He was a fighter. And during our relationship, he was like, I think you'd be really good at it. I think he was my first kind of push into, why don't you try boxing? And I'm like, I've never played a sport, by the way. I don't know if I've mentioned that. So I never played a sport.
Like not even track?
No, nothing. I mean, what's interesting is when we'd go to parks and stuff, I naturally would be inclined to go play with the boys and play basketball or do something competitive. So I think I had that athletic side, but I didn't have the opportunity to channel it in any way. And so whatever. So he was like, why don't you try boxing? Gave in maybe a couple of years later. And I think it was just, like how there's like love at first sight. I had love at first sight sports edition. Like I just completely got hooked. And I think my personality is as such where I think you see a theme of like when I want to do something like with work, with personal, I just want to get it done and I'll go all out for it. And that's exactly what happened with boxing. Started in 2019 and I just got the itch. I'm like, I want to keep doing this. And I would see like, white collar boxers come in who have a job and they're like training for a local fight. I'm like, what if I do a local fight? And I actually asked my trainer about that. He's like, we could do that. And 2019, then 2020, obviously COVID hit. So kind of life just kind of took a halt for a bit. But during that time when I took off from boxing, 2020, 2021, I like was convinced I actually craved it more. When will the gym open again? When can I go back into training? And then when mid 2021 came, I joined the boxing gym again. And I'm like, no, I'm going to fight. My first fight was November 2021. And honestly, rest is history. Like from there, I haven't had a break.
That's insane.
Officially, this November will be 4 years into fighting actively. So
4 years is obviously a long time of doing it. But also the fact that you started at like your very early 20s, like late teens, right?
I started at 20. I'm 31, so I started at 27.
Wow. And see, a lot of people have this like really bad stereotype with like aging and like, oh, when you hit your 30s, that's when everything's gonna go downhill. That's the worst age for dancing or boxing or any competitive sport. That's when you quit or retire. But you're like at your prime right now, and that's like such an encouraging, inspired, especially for me, where I'm like, getting older and I'm like seeing all these people that I'm comparing myself to. But there's people like you and then other friends that I have who are killing it, and they're so much more confident at this age too, where I'm like, I'm so excited to get to that point too,
Yeah, and especially for like people in their younger 20s as well. I think I used to be a type of 21-year-old that saw like 27 is like the end. Like I'm just on the decline from then, but I used to always look up to like there was musicians or artists that were just putting out their first song when they were 27 or 28, and I just thought like, at the time, maybe when I first saw it, I was like, oh, like chill unk, you're up there. But as we get close to that age, we realize like it's so important to see people that are doing things at that age, like especially my sister. She's turning 31 soon, and I look at her and she is like the most lively she has ever been, and she just gets like brighter and brighter every day, and it's the opposite of what I imagined like 30s would be like, so I think seeing you do what you do like at the age that you start doing it is so powerful. Even if you don't hear it or see like the repercussions of it too much, I think it is like it is so necessary for people of all ages to see, younger, older, whatever it is.
I feel like I'm in the shape that I've never been in. This like feeling of like energy. Like I'll wake up, I told you like my day to day, I'll wake up at 7 a.m. and I'm ready to go. And it's like no one asking me or telling me to do something. My body is craving it. And I think this like discipline and just dedication towards this sport got me to a point where I feel like I've like reversed my age in a way. And it's crazy. And I think each hobby can do something different, but for being in sports, something very directly related to health, I've seen changes in my skin, how I feel mentally, everything just changed. And I think that is a big reason why I just continue.
It's also interesting. Before we started recording, you were talking about how you've always been rebellious. You've always been the type of person to choose something unconventional and just like go against the grain a bit, where even growing up, whether it's you dressing up how you do or just being out or just doing things differently and,
Yep.
you know, in relation to a Bangladeshi family. So I think that there is a bad rep with that, like being rebellious and like, you know, being disrespectful, but you know, there can be a balance with that. But I think when you are choosing yourself and you're doing boxing for such a long time and, you know, you didn't have that support in the beginning from your family, and now you're traveling, you're focusing on your health, but you're doing both, or you're balancing your corporate career and also this, where you feel like you're aging backwards. And I feel the same, where I wake up every single day and I'm so happy with the decisions I made 5 years ago because I stuck to my word, where because you were rebellious and because you did this very hard thing before where you could have just kind of like followed what everyone else was doing, follow your parents, whatever, I don't think you would be where you are now, you know?
100%.
And like you feel like, for me too, like I feel a lot more youthful and just more like me because I chose to do something completely different 5 years and like follow my heart, you know? Because like, you know, we can have a big luxurious wedding or whatever right now, which is fine for other people if they want to do that, but we have other priorities which are also, that should also be like showcased, you know, if that makes sense. So I love that you keep choosing yourself and you keep doing what makes you happy, because the way you lead life, like you could be in your early 30s and have like a dead end career or like a life that you just don't like because you followed other people's wishes.
1000%.
You know, so.
I have this theory. So
Let me hear
this is what I live by, and it's like the what if theory.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime I'm going through like some type of setback or something that really, a loss or something that happened that deters me from whatever goal I had in mind, I think about like, what if I could have, right? Like when I have a loss in boxing, what if I could be the next world champion? Or what if I wake up tomorrow for my fight and I'm in the best condition or the best state and I can perform and win? And so I think this theory of like what if to me drives me, because it's like I'll think of, you know, these setbacks I have with my parents, and I'm like, no, if I don't do it, I won't be able to know the what if at the end of the stick, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what really gets me going. And even as a kid, I think before I even faced boxing, I had that in mind. Grew up in Astoria, Queens, small town in a large city. So it's like, if I don't write my own path, no one will, right? And so I knew that, understood that very early on.
Yeah, that's also my biggest thing, where I'm like, would you rather live a life full of regret later on, or would you just do the things that you have always wanted to do and maybe fail at it, but at least you've tried it and you know that you don't like it or you're not good at it, but then you won't be regretful of it later on.
What's the worst thing that could happen?
Exactly. I'm saying that's a bar. We got to get that tattooed. Like,
just know, right?
Yeah.
And then you move on and you do whatever's next.
Yeah, I love. Okay, so you started boxing at 27 and you started competing. But I remember you told me before that your coach saw something in you. Like he saw the grit and like the discipline and how hardcore you were going. So what is the process from like him seeing this spark in you and then you moving into these professional tournaments and things like that?
So during that period, when I took some time off because of COVID and joined a gym, I joined my now coach's gym. That's awesome. And it was one of those things where I basically haven't sparred in God knows how long. And the day that I got into the gym, it was sparring day. Wow. And of course, I get placed with this girl, very experienced, whatever, and get matched up with her. And I'm like, oh no, things are not looking good. Cooked. But you can't say no, right? And so you get in the ring and you're like, let me just try my best, even though I'm very rough at this point. And I try to do my best. But I think what my coach then saw, that best to him, was like, okay, this girl has talent. So I think from him seeing that point in me to then saying, I think I mentioned this to you, but he was like, he approached me a couple of weeks later and was like, I saw you at the gym. I saw you sparring that day. I think you could be really good. What are your thoughts if I can help you get to the Olympics? This girl has never fought. This girl has not done any of it. I'm like, what does this guy say? In my head, I'm thinking, who is this guy? What is this guy saying? He was owner of the gym, but we haven't met up until that point. And I went back home and I Googled him. I'm like, who is Colin Morgan? Yeah. And I ended up finding some really good articles and seeing his history. And when I said yes to him, I just didn't, like, I knew I was going to go for the Olympics, but I didn't know how. And so that next process was honestly it was me like writing my own story. I don't think it's a very traditional way of doing things. So we didn't know whether it was for the US or Bangladesh. So in all of 2022, 2023, so I started fighting 2021, 2022, 2023, I competed in the US. In 2023, that's when the qualifiers for the Olympics were starting. And Colin, being my mentor, he was like, have you ever considered fighting for Bangladesh? And that was the first time he ever brought it up. And I'm like, I don't know anyone in Bangladesh. Who am I going to ask? Like, who am I going to talk to? And he's like, well, try to do some due diligence, see who you find. And I started asking, my cousins of cousins, cousins of friends. I'm like, do you know anyone in the Olympic Federation? Do you know anyone in the Olympic Federation? And honestly, there was no like positive light that was coming out of these conversations. And at some point I was gonna give up. But I remembered there was someone at Google. So talk about full circle. Someone at Google that I met over for coffee. He was a director at the time, and he was half Bangladeshi, half English. So we connected off of being Bangladeshi and whatnot. There were not many of us in at Google. And we ended that meeting with him letting me know if I ever need anything, reach out. Okay. And so it was a good meeting, right? And I'm like, okay, let me ask him. Let me see where he's at. And by that time, he left Google. And I looked him up on LinkedIn, and I messaged him. I'm like, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but we had coffee. Yeah. And I'm like, my proposal, my ask was, do you happen to know anyone that works in like the sports federation? I'm interested in boxing, and I'm potentially thinking about exploring conversations with Bangladesh. And like usually when you're talking to someone very high up, either they respond immediately or they'll just not respond. And he responded in a couple of minutes saying, WhatsApp me. And I'm like, classic. I was like, what does this mean? And I quickly WhatsApped him. And I was like on like, at the edge. And he was like, I used to compete for Bangladesh.
What the heck?
He used to.
And you didn't know this when you talked to him?
No idea. We never talked about this. And he grew up in the UK, but he competed for Bangladesh when he went to like his primaries. I believe it was for cricket.
Wow.
And all of his friends now are either owners of teams or in the sports world. Long story short, he put me in touch with a friend of his whose uncle happens to be the vice president of the Olympic Federation.
Wow.
That's insane.
So it's just like, talk about network, man, right? Like I think, and I've seen this play out in my life in so many different ways. Like how I got my job at Google, it was through someone that I knew that referred me, who was also on that same team that helped me prep for this role. Now this, right? Like maintaining a strong network, I've seen it time and time come into play in all ways. In many ways, your network defines you.
Right.
But it's not, networking is a skill. It's an art. And you need to work on it to define it, to refine it, to get it to a point where you are good at it and you are equally giving someone something while getting something back. And I think at that point, when he said that, I was pitching to Bicky, like, I can do something for Bangladesh if this ends up developing. And so for Bicky, this was like, oh, like I can help scout this. Bicky is the man that I was talking to from Google. I can help scout a potential talent for Bangladesh. But started conversations with Bangladesh, and they invited me over. I came, basically tried out for the spot in the national team. And yeah, after trying it out, I fought a couple of girls there. And they're like, our next big tournament for Bangladesh is the Asian Games. The Asian Games, for some background, is it's basically one of the biggest tournaments right below the Olympic Games. And that was the first qualifier for the Olympics in 2023. So timeline-wise, I go to BD in July of 2023. The Asian Games is in September 2023. So I have a couple months to prep, and it's based in Shanghai, in Hangzhou, China. And so I fly out. That's the first tournament that I go out and represent Bangladesh. That was such an amazing experience, just to be with the Bangladeshi team, hold the Bangladeshi flag, wear the Bangladeshi colors, the whole thing. I mean, it makes you feel so proud.
I was proud looking at it too, with your red lipstick on. Like, it was amazing to see as a spectator.
Yeah, and then just even like going through, like, it's really hard to describe. I'm very proud of being Bangladeshi, but this entire experience of now fighting for the country, it takes it to another level. But holding the flag, walking down and repping the country and wanting to represent the country in these large tournaments, it's a whole other feeling. But
Do you feel any pressure, like literally fighting for Bangladesh and like putting it on your back like that? And especially knowing, like, you know, growing up in the States, we always feel a disconnect of like how Bengali do we feel like we actually are, you know, like you probably felt this when you go back home, like there's, you know, so little, you know, whether it's like words that you've just never heard before, or just food that you've never even seen before. Whenever I go back, I realize like I need to put in some more work. So how do you feel, or what is your thought process of representing Bangladesh, knowing that maybe sometimes you may battle with the idea of like not thinking you're the best fit for like that position or whatnot?
I like to say pressure is a privilege, and I didn't realize that at the time. Like, this is me now, forward thinking. But in that story that I just mentioned, my first competition on behalf of Bangladesh was at the Asian Games, and I have the country's flag on me, but everyone's thinking this girl from America is going to win us a gold medal. For some background, Bangladesh is the 8th populous country in the world, with 174 million people. We have yet to win an Olympic medal. The last medal we've ever won was in 1986. A former boxer, Moshraf Hossein, won this medal at the Asian Games, bronze, in Seoul, right? So I'm just giving that background to know no one's won a medal. So there was so much pressure that this girl's coming, she's going to win. And I didn't realize how much the pressure was getting to me until fight day. And I get in, and I honestly, super flat, very flat. And I get out of the ring after losing, and I'm like, wow, that was my come out party, and I wasn't able to show up. And, you know, to go back to your question, I think the way I looked at pressure before and the way I look at it now, it's slightly different. And I think pressure, another level of being Bangladeshi, you're not only trying to get these personal achievements of winning, but you're also battling cultural stereotypes, right? Of just like, as a woman, can I do it? As an athlete, can I do it? Can I really represent Bangladesh and win and be like kind of this next big face? But yeah, I think over time now, I think I've settled with it a little bit more, right? I signed up to do this, and instead of looking at it with a framework of like, oh my God, how am I going to do, or will I do well? It's like, no, I'm going to do well. And like, can I put together I don't know, like a mental plan of how to approach it? And I feel like I've been able to define that a little bit more.
So do you feel like you have like a routine and a mantra that you have in place before any competition, but especially something big like that before the Asian Games, where you're able to get into that headspace now?
Headspace, maybe I'll talk through some of the concepts that I like think through to help me like prioritize and just focus a bit better. But I try to think of I create goals. And with these goals, I try to create micro goals, right? So I obviously have this, so going back to the idea of pressure, if someone tells you you got to get to the Olympics, that's a lot of fucking pressure.
Of course, yeah.
Right? And so I try to break that up. So 2028 is my goal. What do I have to do before 2028, right? I have to win X, Y, Z tournaments. Okay. So those are the tournaments that are top of mind. So the next tournament, let's just say, let's use a real life example, is in January. So I have 3 months to prepare. What am I doing in each of these 3 months to get myself to a point where I feel comfortable and ready to compete, right? So just breaking down some of these tasks where it feels like very heavy, but then making it feel manageable. Exactly. So I think I handle pressure now because of thinking this way, whereas 2 months later after the Asian Games, I have to go, I have to prepare, I have to win, and it just all comes down, right?
But then if you feel like you're controlling that narrative where you're taking the little steps to, you know, get ahead, then no, go ahead. Did it fall?
All the sound. Okay.
But when you are taking the little steps to prepare yourself, then even if the outcome does not come out the way that you want it to, then you're like, at least I've done my part to make it the best, you know?
I've done my work, and I've done it the best way I can.
But also, on top of that, did you have something?
I just had a quick question, like kind of backtracking a little bit. I was just curious, what got you past like the thought of like boxing is a phase? Like, you know, you just start doing it, you get that initial itch, you know, you've probably battled like thinking like, oh, is this gonna last? Or you've probably had days where you don't want to go to a gym, or you're like, I don't know if I actually want to do this. So what gets you past like the idea of thinking that like this is just like a temporary thing, and you actually want to do it?
You did tell me that it's self-funded for the most part, right? Yeah. You working a corporate job that is very stable, you're making that money. So it's like, how do you choose both, and how do you choose to get over that discipline, and then also how hard it is, and everything else?
So I think there's two parts to it, right? Because I think there's a phase when I first discovered it, maybe, and then a phase maybe when I took it seriously, right? So when I first discovered it, this is a little cheesy, but I've never felt the way that I felt when I started boxing. Like, I had to basically cancel. This is when I just picked it up. I had a gym membership. Shout out to Mendes Boxing, the first gym where I first started my boxing career. And I would, finish work and feel excited to not go out to like happy hours or dinners, but to go train. And so I think at the beginning I knew it was a phase because I just felt a certain way. And it's weird, like, listen to that, right? I feel like listen to how you feel, and I did. And that then led to me actually having my first fight and then taking this super seriously. And the way I assess whether or not it's not a phase then, it's like, okay, let's just say I'm competing or I'm doing all these things, but I wasn't successful at it. I would reevaluate, right? But I think at a certain point, I'm like, okay, I'm winning. And I think this goal is audacious, but not audacious enough that I can't do it. And what if, right? I get to the point where I can. What does that even mean for me? And I think that helped me just truck forward, right? And continue forward. But
what's your because I feel like you're saying all these grand things that are incredible, but like you were talking about the small baby steps that you take to get to these big things. So what is your schedule like? Especially like balancing both things at the same time while traveling and leading this like luxe life while also like fighting,
Yeah, like when are you like
like how do you work?
When are you watching your
human?
TV shows?
Yeah, how are you human? How do you work? Like, how does this?
it's not easy. I feel like I still haven't figured it out fully, but I'm going with the flow, kind of. But work 5 days a week. I have a full-time job, so working 40 to 50 hours a week. But a lot of it's like a lot of multitasking, right? Like in the mornings I'll train, in the evenings I'll train.
So you do twice a day?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, depending on like what the day is.
Okay.
I have like a workout regimen, but it's a mixture of like cardio, which is like a lot of runs, and then boxing, and then I do like strength and endurance work. So depending on the day, sometimes I'm training twice a day, and then if it's leading up to a fight, I'm definitely training a lot more. So it depends on the timing. But yeah, and then weekends are sometimes reserved for like rest days and social days, but I'll also train. On the mornings I'll run or gym. So it's a lot of dedication for sure.
It's like whenever I was trying to get Zinnat on the pod, we've been trying to get her, I'm telling you, for like literally the past 6 months, but she's been so busy with traveling and winning all these matches where she has not had the time. How dare she win all these matches? But no, she's not kidding. Like, she's constantly traveling. Like, I'll be like, oh, are you free 2 months down the line on this specific day? She'll be like, no, I'll be in China and Thailand, and also like I'm going to Bangladesh, and then I actually won't be free until 2028. So.
Basically, and that's what I do with my friends too. My friends are now like a bit more accepting with it, but at the beginning, like, Zinnat, you're planning weeks in advance. Like, what?
But you have to do that sometimes.
I just had to upset, and then I think those friends and family members now get it.
They get it, yeah.
But at the beginning, like, what's going on? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
this is not okay.
I definitely had to leave behind some friends who weren't getting that, who were trying to hang out every single day, but sometimes I feel bad because I like having my routine. I feel like that's what gets me on track with my goals and everything, but I miss the spontaneous side that I once had.
Agree.
But, I think there's a balance with everything. Like, he planned a concert the other day and we got tickets last minute. And in my head, I was like, no, I can't go. Like, I have so much work to do. I have the schedule that I have to, like, cross off all the things on. But then I was like, what's the worst that I can, like, have a little spontaneous.
You push back one day.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
We'll be okay.
Exactly.
I would love to know, like, your point of view on like the stigma of our parents not really emphasizing physical activity growing up. As for me, like I didn't get yelled at.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I got it emphasized for me.
As in, like, your mom always like tried persuading you to do physical activity.
Yeah.
I never really got that's I feel like that's
I was in karate. I was in karate growing up. I was in dancing.
Wow.
And then my mom would always make us like play outside.
That's
and
amazing.
be at the park.
That's good. Yeah, growing up, like I think playing outside, that kind of it comes with the nature. But like whenever I said like I want to go to a gym, even now, like during, like we joke about it during Ramadan, my mom always tells me like stop going to the gym. Like I could just pray and like that's my gym. Like my mom always feels some type of way when I tell her like I'm out doing physical activity, and I don't know why, but it's a safety thing, or
They think
I
it's
guess
a waste of
like,
time.
it's a waste of time, and like
study.
with that time I can do
Something
non-physical activities. So I would love to know kind of did you grow up with that as well, and I guess like how important it is now that obviously you see physical activity being.
I rolled my eyes as you said that, because I swear to God, like, I think so. They never outrightly encouraged physical activity, but to your point about playing, I grew up in Astoria. We had like courtyards, and so every day, like when I was a kid, we'd go at 6 p.m., meet all the kids, go play. So there was that level of play and that level of physical activity, but it was never ingrained or scheduled to the extent of what you just said, karate or dance. And I think a lot of that just came because they couldn't afford the idea to think about it that way, right?
Yeah.
Like, to them, they didn't want us to lose sight of going to school, doing really well, and just focus on that. Like, they were nervous if I like get sidetracked, right? So I think that was that. And I even now, 4 years into me boxing, my mom and dad's like, do you have to gym that much? They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm all like, this is my regimen.
Right.
Yeah.
And they still don't get it. They still think I'm wasting time, and it's fine. They can think that. But I think it's super important. I mean, I see myself, my life will be like this and beyond as I get older. I encourage the people around me. I feel like I meet up with my girlfriends. I'm like, what activity do you guys want to do? Do you want to do yoga? Do you want to run? The other day I met a friend from Florida. He was visiting, and he's also very active, and we planned our catch up with running. We ran 6 miles on a slower pace.
Goddamn.
Golly.
But listen, we killed 2 birds with 1 stone, and like that's now my lifestyle. So how important is it? It's so important, and I think, and I don't think our culture emphasizes it enough as part of our lifestyle. It's something fun to do. I disagree.
It's interesting because like my parents did emphasize the physical workouts growing up, but after a certain age, it's kind of not emphasized anymore.
Nice
like,
to have.
Yes,
yeah, I think as a kid, they want you to be involved with it, but once you get like late teens, early 20s, like they are not bringing it up.
Yeah,
at
like
all,
hobbies are not a necessity anymore. But after a certain age, any hobbies related to art or creative, thinking, it's just a waste of time, a waste of space. You have to get into your real job in life. But you were talking a little bit about how your parents before, and even now, there's some comments where they make where it might not seem as support, or they just don't understand it, right?
Yeah, it's a lack of understanding.
Yeah, but definitely in the beginning, it's a lack of understanding, but also because of that, they don't support it because they don't understand it. So how do you think their reaction to you first starting boxing then and then versus now, like what do you think the difference is and how has it grown?
And also, like, to add on to that, when I'm sure you felt this when you initially started, there's always like it really hurts when you first start off because they're just not seeing eye to eye. Like, they're not understanding that this is something that you really like to do.
Like, you're passionate about it, but they're just not.
And they're just careless of it. So how do you get over that, like, really tough initial hump of, like, just pushing yourself to keep going with it regardless of what your parents are saying?
Yeah, it goes back to a couple of the statements that I've made earlier. Just like of envisioning of what this can lead to. I think that really helps me.
Having foresight.
Yeah, having foresight. But I also think, like, I just grew up with my parents saying no to everything. Can I stay out late? No. Can I go out and eat here? No. Can I wear this? No. So my initial reaction to everything is like, okay, they're gonna say no. I'm gonna do it. Like, I think it was just like such a rebellious part of me at a certain point.
I just know me and you both put our parents through it.
We put them through
Yeah.
it. But I think now they
get it now.
They get it.
Yeah.
And I think with them, like, I was really hurt at the beginning. They wouldn't want to come to my fight. My parents came to my first fight, and my brother told me, and my mom had like her eyes covered the entire time. And I like walked out to my walkout song, and I'm getting in the ring. My mom started crying already. Like, she was just like, what if she gets hurt? Like, what if she doesn't laugh? And then, so I think.
Did you win or lose your first fight?
I won.
Oh yeah, you did.
So I think it helps if you are good at what you do, right? Because I think they're like, okay, in my situation, she's gonna stay safe. I trust her. She knows what she's doing. And then I also see that she's passionate about it. I also understand not everyone's parents are like that. My parents, luckily, I feel like over the years of me just having those conversations, I remember a big time when going to college, like I wanted to dorm. They did not want me to dorm.
Yeah.
And I got into college upstate, and my parents made a deal with me. They're like, we'll let you dorm if you pick a school in the city. And so a lot of it's also like, remember back to the idea of like conversations with them, we negotiated. And so I think because I primed them for years that when we got to the idea, me boxing at 27, older, had a job, graduated, I check all the boxes, and at that point, at a certain point, I'm like, no, I'm gonna do this, right? I'm not asking.
You're not actually asking for permission.
Yeah, I'm letting you know, and I'd love for you to be a part of my journey.
Yeah.
And I think that like determination, yet like stern tone, had them say, okay,
Yeah.
we'll come.
Yeah.
We'll see you. You know, and I told you earlier about them seeing me recently. Like they were just so excited to see me. So it's changed.
Yeah.
And I think you can get there. It's just a lot of time.
I feel like the biggest thing is just doing it instead of asking for permission, because, you know, a lot of people ask me like, oh my God, how did you tell your parents you're moving out?
Yeah.
I just told them. Like,
yeah.
I didn't ask for permission. I didn't like give them any insight onto like financial help or whatever it is. Like, I just told them that I'm doing it, and they can either help me or just not, you know, and things like that. And again, we are lucky with our parents. Like, not everyone is fortunate with that. But I think
I want to add one more thing to what you just said.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's also just making it easy for them. You just mentioned like, hey, I'm not asking for any finances.
Yeah.
I'm not. You're making it, hey, this is the situation. This is what I need from you, which is like, honestly, just like your blessing.
Right.
And everything else is set. So you make it so easy for them. So that they can't say no.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I've tried doing that too.
It's still hard.
Still
like,
hard.
It's like you make it so
Still
easy for
hard.
them, but they still don't get it.
Takes us time.
But yeah. So my biggest thing is, I also read in a book where it's, don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness later. Where it's like you do what you need to do as long as you're not hurting anyone and it's safe. And then later on, if they're still upset with you, you still did what you needed to do for yourself. And then you can ask them or talk about it with them later, you know?
I have an example of that.
Yeah.
Like a kid in my gym. So after fighting for Bangladesh, I have a few little Bengali boys and girls that are coming into the gym.
Oh.
And this one Bengali boy, super talented.
How old are they? Like in high school?
The one I'm referring to. Yeah, some of them are 15, 16.
Oh,
so they're
wow.
young. And honestly, I tell them all the time, I wish I could be your age and have discovered this. So I think what you're doing is amazing. But I have this one Bengali boy, and he like is so passionate about boxing, and he's really good at it. But his parents won't let him fight. And he's really nervous to talk to his parents. And I tell him, I'm like, why don't you, I'm more than happy to talk to them. Why don't you invite me over for lunch? He won't. He's just really, really nervous, really, really shy. But I try to tell him, I'm like, listen, and that to that earlier point of just like, go for it and just we'll figure it out later. And I think taking that step is the hardest part. But once you do, you realize it's not that bad. I haven't gotten him over just yet, but I've been telling him just do it and bring them on later. But he's just so nervous to get the retaliation from him.
But I'm also, it's so helpful when you have that one person to keep you going and motivate you, because I'm sure like his whole life he was good at this, or he was really excited about boxing, but he never had someone to like push him to that point to make him think otherwise. But now you're here for him, right? And the same thing for you in your career. Like, you just did it as a hobby, but then you had your coach who saw something in you, and you had that fire, and then also your friend who works at Google who just kept it pushing, you know. And it was just like one connection after the other who believed in you and like brought you forward. But it's just insane, because like even with me with you know, working on the internet and like getting brand deals and things like that, obviously a lot of it is I deserve it, and that's obviously a big part of it. But another part of it is other POC people who follow me who work in these brands refer me to the bigger people, and then they'll get me the actual deal. So it's like other POC people seeing each other, value, seeing the value, and then just helping all of us grow, you know. But it's the same thing. It's like the networking thing, and then just seeing one inspirational person and trying to like uplift them in the community, you know.
Do you think boxing has helped you get closer to like your Bengali identity and like helped you understand more about the culture? Like, do you see any kind of ties between those two?
Oh my God, a ton.
Yeah.
I was born being American Bangladeshi. I think there's another layer to that.
Yeah.
I was telling you earlier, growing up in a story back in the 80s or back in the 90s, at least in my era, there weren't many. So I felt there's an ebb and flow in my life with the Bangladeshi culture. I think in high school I went to a predominantly like Bangladeshi, like just POC high school of a lot of Bangladeshis there. So I've interact with a ton. Get to college, honestly, not that many. Get to Google, not that many, right? And so I felt like at my later years, I didn't really have that tie. I'm not really befriending many. I'm not around many. I'm not really speaking, not being at home, right? So I think then getting into boxing, I'm like, wow, I'm actually getting better with my Bangla because I'm actually talking to people in Bengali, or like certain mannerisms, how to do business in Bengali, in the Bangladeshi culture is very different.
It's a whole different thing.
Yeah, like how you interact with, and a lot of the people that I interact with are older men, right? How you interact with them, with a sense of respect and all that. So yes, I think there's a lot of, it's brought me a lot closer, both in understanding the culture a bit more and also just being a bit more proud. Right? I didn't think I had the opportunity to wear the flag, right? And now I'm literally doing that. And at some point, whether you are excited by that or not at the beginning, like you just become, because you're like, wow, I have all these people that are rooting for me. Like, how can you not? Right?
Yeah.
I also love seeing you in your shari.
Oh,
I think it was for the Asian
saris.
Games, right?
Yeah.
Where you were just so proud to be representing that side of you, and like you could see it coming off of your face, but also I feel like being thrown into the waters like that, where you are negotiating or talking business in Bangla with all these men or just people in the field. That's like you're forced to be more cognizant and proud of your culture, you know. But how is it navigating that? Because I feel like it is still very male dominated, not even just within the sport, but like this industry in general, you know. And you're kind of doing it on your own, since you're flying to these places for the most part by yourself or with your coach.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard, I can imagine, right?
It is hard, and there are downfalls, right? I mentioned I like kind of in that boxing story that 2023 is when I decided to start it with BD. And at some point, when I fought after China, I'm like, I'm going to continue fighting for Bangladesh. And the following year was the Olympics, right? And I did all that I should be doing in my control, winning the right tournaments and whatnot. But there were 2 tournaments that would basically qualify me if I were to have like medaled in those to the Olympics. Bangladesh actually just dropped that and basically didn't sign the papers or put me in on the right tournaments at the right time. They missed the deadline. And so just back to your question of like navigation and how hard it is, of course it's hard. I think there's sometimes a lack of trust, right? A reliability, how to do business, right? So in the Western world, meeting a deadline is meeting a deadline at 11:59. There is no buffer period of one day, you know. In the Bangladeshi culture, party starts at 7, you get there at midnight, right? That does not exist. And I think there's that also, like navigating with some of these folks too. Some of them aren't really savvy with technology or how to write a proper email, right? So there's a ton of that, but we're learning.
Yeah,
We're learning as we're going.
What was your reaction to them dropping the ball like that?
Oh, I mean, it was definitely a build-up over months, right? Because the first qualifier was in March, and I found out it wasn't going in January, so I was really upset then. But in my head, I'm like, okay, there's one more left, and that would be in Thailand that following, I think it was May. And then I remember in March, it was Eid, but the deadline was during Eid. So I kept following up with them, like, hey, like, did you guys apply? My contact said, yeah, we did apply. Fast forward.
Okay.
Did not apply.
Jeez.
It's so frustrating when you're
Oh my
the one
God.
vouching for yourself constantly, and it usually does work out in your favor. But for this instance, you shouldn't even be vouching for yourself.
Yeah.
By the way, like this should be something else that's
Expected and done
without you
super
having
professional.
to do it. Yeah, but the fact that they still didn't follow through, especially when there was like such a big weight on this,
Yeah.
you being the first Bangladeshi boxer,
Yeah, it's
and they
crazy.
still didn't follow through with that, is very upsetting. Like I cannot even imagine that.
I think harsh reality too in the Bangladeshi culture, like at least what I'm experiencing now, I'm getting a lot of acceptance. I just recently went to Bangladesh for
4 days, right? Like,
Yeah,
such a small trip.
for a tournament. Yeah, no, it was just like in and out.
Yeah.
I adjusted to the time zone. I came back to readjust to the to New York's time zone. But I feel like now I'm getting a ton of acceptance because they've seen me win. And so that period, I was just 2 years into boxing, right? When they missed the qualifier. So I feel like in their head, like, oh, would she have won?
Yeah.
Would she have done good? You know, and they didn't see enough of my potential,
Yeah.
which is like sad, right? Like, because potential shouldn't be judged off of wins. It's
Right.
like the work ethic, dedication. But now, like, I think it's a little different. I feel like
Yeah.
now they've seen me win over and over again. Like, okay, I think this girl might be it for us. This girl might help us. And once again, sports, you can't tell.
Yeah.
You don't know. You can't predict who's going to be the winner, who's going to be the loser. But
Yeah, I feel like it's hard sometimes when you're feeling like your value is attached to just how much you work. Like, that's why another part of why my work ethic is so great, where I'm like constantly working to get that validation and that to get that compliment. Oh my God, you are a hard worker, you know? But what do you feel like is your like next steps for the Olympics now that you've gone through that struggle and you've gone over that hurdle?
Yep.
Like, what are we seeing for Zinnat now?
So obviously going through that in 2024, it's like, do I want to continue doing this? I had that conversation with myself. We are risking this to happen 2.0, but we're doing right now the best we can to control the narrative. But yeah, 2028 is a big goal. In between, we have some micro tournaments or some tournaments leading up to that to get experience. I think next year is a really, really big year for me. We have the South Asian Games in January. I'm fighting against countries like India, Pakistan, Nepal. So that tournament's like a bragging rights, like in the region. It's like my fighter beat your fighter kind of thing. So I'm excited for that one.
And like Bangladesh probably doesn't win too often.
Bangladesh, yeah, we don't, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so that one's gonna be really fun. It's in Pakistan. So
Oh,
first I'm visiting
awesome.
Lahore, which I'm excited about. July, it's the Commonwealth Games. So all under British colony countries are all gonna be fighting against each other. That's a big one too. And then 2026 September, the Asian Games. So
Wow.
I
And
gotta-
that's the qualifier, right?
not the so that time it was a qualifier because it was the year before. It's not
Okay.
the qualifier yet,
Okay.
but it's still a very large name to win something on that. As I mentioned, in 1986, our last medal came from that tournament or that that competition. So big things, I think,
Yeah.
some big
Exciting.
tournaments, but I want to enjoy the process. I feel like that's the difference with now before the first time doing it. I was so stressed. It's like, I need to win. And now it's like, I'm going to do my best. And if it leads to that, great. If I'm not really performing, let's reevaluate. Should I continue? Should I take a step back? And I'm open to doing that now, which I'm excited about.
Yeah.
And you also did the best that you could at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know?
I have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
I have only to gain. I tell myself I'm not supposed to be here, but I am. So
And what I also loved recently is that since you do travel so much for these boxing events, when you went to Bangladesh recently and also Portugal, like you were traveling and having your leisure time on top of that. I feel like you're so work oriented when you do travel for these things. So I love that you're kind of just having that relaxation time as well of just work, you know?
I give myself one day after every tournament once it's done to like visit the city, see what's it about. So
Yeah.
it does definitely help.
Very cool.
And then what do you see yourself for just future Zinnat? Like, do you want to do community events? Like, how do you want to progress in this career of yours? Do you
Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy. I like now see my professional career developing like into the synergy between boxing, women's sports, being a leader, being an advocate. So I don't know what that role 5 to 10 years looks like from now, but I see something along those lines, and I'm kind of in the search for it. Right?
Yeah.
Who knows? What if I go into professional boxing, which is basically
Oh my God.
more on the business side and performing. So who knows if that's a thing. What I started doing, which is I highly encourage for you guys to join one of my classes, but I started doing a zinnat fight camp. I'm actually going to lead my next one right after this.
She's booked and busy, guys.
It's renting at my gym and teaching like the technique and the form of boxing, and it's just meant to be fun. I treat it as if I'm hanging out with my friends,
Yeah.
but I'm just instructing it. So I'll give you a really good workout. I actually have a little gift for you guys.
Oh my God, what?
Oh my God.
Wait.
This never
For you
happened
guys to
before.
come. This is for you.
Wait.
Oh my God.
He loves his black shirts.
Oh my God.
Wait,
Wow.
okay. Oh, I'm gonna be wearing
Hold
this
on.
to my gym as well.
This is
but-
So that's
That's
from my
great.
coach and I.
Yeah.
Whenever
Thank
you
you so
guys,
much.
we want you
Thank
guys
you
to
so
come,
much. Thank you
and
so much.
yeah, we want you to just like learn the sport, have fun.
Yeah.
Boxing looks aggressive and violent and all that, but it's honestly a thinking man sport, man and woman sport, right? Like it makes you just like just really step out of your comfort zone.
Feel
But when you
invincible.
do, and it's the best feeling.
Yeah.
And I want people to feel that with me.
Absolutely.
And I love
Absolutely.
especially when I do see those stories of those events that you throw where it's a community event, but then also these girls and people in general who go there, they feel so empowered where they feel like they can accomplish anything, you know? And then I always say, like, when you do take this hard class, like whether it is like solid core boxing, whatever, after you complete that class, you just feel so good that you were able to even get up to go to it, because that's the hardest part, even booking a class or having that intention to go but actually following through with it. And then you realize how much you're capable of doing, and then like builds that mental fortitude where you can accomplish so many more things, you know? So yeah, I love seeing that community on your stories.
Most people actually, so I curate my groups because right now it's only open to friends and friends of friends. Most people actually never boxed. So the whole purpose of it is just to like loosen that barrier that you have in your mind of like, can I do it? Can I not? And it's like, yeah, I can. It's all my friends. It's led by someone that I know. And most people aren't experienced, and they leave the class like, oh crap, I want to do this more. And to me, that's a win.
I love that.
Yeah,
But
if you ever need like a new instructor, I got some tips and tricks.
All right, I got you. I'll remember that.
I'm not new to this, like I've been around. No.
Thank you so much, Zinnat, for being on this podcast. Like,
course.
I am just so inspired by your story, and I'm telling you, like, we pick these guests so specifically because we're genuinely so, like, we feel so empowered having people like you in the community, and we look up to you. But thank you so much for making the time to come here and tell us your story, your struggles, and the good and the bad, because I feel like that's important too. But we always close out our episode with some silly little like
we got some rapid fire questions.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
And
Let's
this
hear.
has to be like very quick, like
Okay,
off
okay.
the top of
off
your
the top,
head,
off the
top.
no
Oh my God.
thinking.
Um,
Okay.
I have one that I'm just thinking about.
Rapid
what-
fire or question?
Yeah, both, I guess.
Okay.
What's something that like the casual viewer of boxing like does not notice is going on? Like as you,
That's
someone
a
like in
great
the
question.
ring, like what's something that like we should have like more of an eye for?
I just know you're
That
passionate
like
about
is
this
such
one.
a big part.
Oh my God.
Of it.
All right. The whole sport, my mom still watches this. She's like, I don't know who's winning or who's losing. She'll tell me that every time. I'm like, Mom. And so then but that gives me perspective. I'm like, most people don't know how to watch the sport, right? The whole idea of boxing is to hit and not to get hit. And so I encourage the casual viewer who's starting to either watch it or engage with it. It's like looking at each opponent and then seeing what's making them hit the person, and at the same time not get hit, because it's a point system game, right? In professional boxing, it's points plus aggression plus power and all that, but in general, that's the whole concept. So I would say that being number one. But I think what the casual viewer or the casual boxer they don't get to notice, it's like how much intelligence is involved, right? So now I'm at a level where when I'm sparring someone, which is like practice fighting, I plan my steps 2, 3, 4 steps ahead. So I'm
Like you're predicting their move.
I'm predicting their move, and I'm gonna do something that's gonna make them do that move, but I'm thinking that 4 steps ahead. And it's just like such a mind game.
It's like chess.
Yeah,
It is literally chess. There's actually something called chess and boxing, like box chess or
Really?
something that recently came out. Yeah, like they'll do a round of chess, a round of boxing.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
I'm nice
Very
at chess
cool.
too.
Oh,
Boxing.
you
too.
love
maybe,
chess.
maybe that could
That's
be the
my-
next thing
that's
for
my
you.
pocket. That's my pocket.
He's been trying
That's
to
my
actually
pocket.
become like a chess prodigy. Like he's been playing
I
like
am.
every single day.
I am. Not
A
trying.
lot of boxers actually do that as like a
Yeah.
pastime. It's a great way to just train your brain and keep it active, and it very much is setting up traps, right?
Wow, I never thought of it.
No,
with
boxing's
that connection.
fascinating, man. I was watching a fight last night. I was enthralled. Good
Crawford or
fight.
Canelo?
Good fight. I mean, that boy Crawford, he smoked him.
That's
He
my
smoked
favorite
him.
fighter.
Really?
He is by
He's so fun to watch.
Oh,
like
he's a
someone that like
tactician.
he's like a scientist. Like just
a
watching.
dancer
he
on
literally
stage.
is.
Very
Yeah.
cool. All right.
Okay, the next
go ahead.
one actually hot take. I mean,
Go.
quick. Favorite Bangladeshi dish.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I just went to my girlfriend's apartment home yesterday. She invited me for lunch, and I asked her mom, like,
Munzie, we
Auntie,
had her on the podcast. By the
Munzie.
way. Come
Munzie.
on,
my
we named
bestie.
her up
Okay,
here.
okay,
Shout out
Munzie.
Munzie. Shout out
I'm like,
Munzie.
Auntie, I love portas.
Oh yeah. Okay, what torta?
She made some
Yeah,
extravagant
everything.
portas. I'll let
Yeah.
Munzie kind of chime in later to
Yeah.
tell me which ones, but like I think she made begun porta. She made
Like
this like
eggplant.
seam. And I don't even know what the English
Yeah, I
word
don't even
seam
know.
is, but
It's some-
seam and shrimp porta. Porta is basically like a
Mash
Yeah,
of
mash of a
these,
bunch
yeah.
of
Yeah.
things. But yeah,
I love
portas
egg
are-
torta too.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
it's
man,
a simple
all
one. I
that,
like
man.
that.
Yeah.
It hits.
Oh,
It hits.
okay. And the next one, your favorite like guilty splurge when you have like a good check-in, you don't
Check this
have
hit
like
Friday.
too many expenses coming up.
What's going on?
How are you spending that money?
I love to eat.
Oh yeah.
I love to eat. I love just in general experiences. So anything and I think with food, you get experiences like, and it could be very casual, like at a mom and pop, but you can also get very like a fine dining, extravagant experience. Yeah, I like spending money on like just good experiences with a good chat, good conversation, good company.
Yeah, I feel like you are a very big food or like travel experience type of person instead of like just items,
things.
you know.
I feel like we don't do too many like sit down at a restaurant for 3+ hours and just nibble at things. Like we went to Monkey King once, and Munzie just kept
doing
yeah,
that.
she always does
and
that.
I was in heaven. I
No,
was like,
literally.
Give me more.
yeah.
Okay, two
Good
more
time.
quick questions.
Okay.
Ideal Friday night.
Yeah, it was
Check
Friday
just
night.
hits. You're ready to just either chill at home, go outside, whatever
What are we
it is.
doing?
But
What's
what's
the
your
vibe?
ideal?
What my Friday nights look like now, which I actually like it.
Okay.
It's working, training,
All right.
All right.
Okay,
Why
here
do we
she
ask
goes.
this
working,
question?
training. But then I think it's the wind down
yeah.
After that.
after that. Yeah, like come home. I'll either like go to a sauna, go to a steam room, just really to have like a wellness night. Go home and just honestly like watch boxing and like
There we go.
I know it's my life is just kind of
No, I
around
love
that.
it. You're really
but
in it. I love
I'm
it.
really in it, but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel like work, but to me like that wind down like makes me feel like okay, the work week is done.
Yeah.
Time to kind of relax.
That's
a bit.
my brother with
Yeah.
basketball. He'll just watch YouTube clips on
That's
how to
literally all he does.
Good.
All he does.
Okay, last one. And this is going to be a little bit hard because it's so open-ended.
Okay.
Biggest hot take, and it could be about any topic.
Yeah, what's your hot take?
Okay, my favorite Instagram channel, it's Subway Hot Takes.
Oh, yeah. I love that
Do you guys
page.
know about
I
Subway
love
Hot
that
Takes
page.
by
Of course,
Kareem?
that's
Yeah,
that guy.
you know, I was supposed
Yeah.
to have one of my clothing pieces be on one of the girls.
I think I messaged you one day. I'm like,
Was
this one looks like
yeah,
one of
it
your
was that
fits.
girl. Yeah. She was supposed to borrow one of my fits for that, and then the timing just didn't work out.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Okay, man, that's a hard one.
Yeah.
Hot take. Let me
Yeah.
think.
Make it hot so I can like clip it up.
I'm like, what's
and,
the hot take?
We can go
I don't
viral.
even have a hot take.
Her hot take was that
Okay, this was a long time ago.
Okay.
It's not valid
she
anymore.
said that popcorn isn't the appropriate like snack for a movie. I hated it. She said chips is better. I said how? Chips are twice as good. Anyways.
Okay, maybe as a
Just
New
anything.
Yorker, I'll give you my
yeah,
hot
give me a New
take.
York
Yeah.
one.
So when people say we're from the city,
Mm-hmm.
they're referring to Manhattan.
Oh, yeah.
Hot take. When you say you're from the city, that also includes some of these other boroughs, Queens,
Oh, God.
Brooklyn, Bronx, and obviously some are farther than the others. But hey, I think Astoria is the city, so that's my hot take.
Facts,
I think
facts.
on
like
top
that.
of that, also when people are like, "Oh yeah, I'm moving to the city," they just assume Manhattan, and then they
Manhattan,
complain
yeah.
about the prices and then this and that. But I'm like, girl, that's not the actual
City.
city.
It is
you know?
it is the city,
Yeah.
but I feel like the city should be considered the boroughs.
More
so
encompassing.
That's my little hot take.
That's a good
I like
one.
that.
That's
I
a
like
good one.
that. I like that.
All right, so we
Calm,
end off our
calm.
episodes with just a Bangla word of the day. It could be anything,
Okay.
and a little 10-second piece of advice that could be related to what we talked about or unrelated.
Yeah.
Before he was like, buy batteries from Amazon. Like it was something so stupid. So
No,
it could
'cause
be
batteries at
something
CVS are like $9 for 4. Amazon it's like $9 for 30. I
Okay.
just found
See-
this out. It's crazy.
yeah. So
All right, what's
Anything.
how do you say
Okay, so
Bangla-
2 layers. You said favorite word.
favorite. It
Or-
could be a Bangla word of the day.
Yeah, I mean what's boxing in Bangla? I don't even know.
Yeah, dude. Is there a word for
No,
boxing?
No?
we've been
Oh,
just
really?
saying boxing.
All
Kela
right.
kili. No, I'm
Kela
just
kili,
saying
that's plain.
boxing.
How do you say fight again? It's
Mara mari.
maramari. Just a little
That's
rhyme.
actually kind of cute.
Mara
Mara
mari.
mari.
Mara mari.
Like a little rhyme in
Sounds
there.
like-
Like just fighting when you're fighting up your
Yeah.
Right.
Like when I'm fighting my brother growing up, my mom would just
Mara mari
"Mara
kutsu kano.
yeah, kind of
Why are you fighting?
All right, what's your 10-second advice?
I have to go first.
What's
You
it?
go first,
No, you
buddy.
go first.
No,
Wait, so
no.
we're all going? 10-second
Yeah, we
advice?
all go.
Yeah, we
Okay.
all each go.
If you ever want to gift someone some coffee beans, what would really help is if you ask them beforehand like how they want the beans grinded, because a lot of time people don't own coffee grinders, so when you gift them whole coffee beans they can't do anything with it.
He's saying this because he's in a
Someone
predicament.
gifted him coffee
I have
beans.
3 coffee
He has
bags
3 coffee
of
bags.
whole
He can't
coffee
grind it
beans.
now.
So just just be a little bit more intentional with that type of gift. That's all.
Okay.
That's my advice.
So anyway, my 10-second piece of advice is if you get very overwhelmed with goals and it's hard for you to focus on so many different things at the same time, when you are making your vision board for the year, have maybe one big specific goal for that vision board that you actually work towards for that entire year or for the next 5 years, whatever it is, so you have something to actually like work towards, and then when you cross that off, it'll be a lot easier for you to tackle bigger goals.
deep.
I love that. I
That
think
was
it's
deep.
very much on top of
Encompassing,
where.
right?
So maybe I'll do one similar to that.
You didn't like his?
Come on.
I liked it.
Pick
That's,
some, like,
that's
in the
not a
middle.
thought.
Like,
That's
come
not a
on.
thought.
Pick some in the middle.
I don't know. I'm so honored to be here, but the messaging I want people to get across from hearing our conversation is just dare to dream.
Yeah.
I think that's like my tagline on my social media. Like I love that, and I really resonate with that because if you don't know what's going to be on the other end. So just do it.
Love.
I like that.
Love.
I like that.
Okay,
Facts.
Zinnat, now
Facts.
tell us where our audience can find you, how they can connect with you.
All that.
Give all the socials.
All
So come with Mahoya to my next boxing
Yeah,
class, and
I
not
would
fight
love-
camp.
You can
Yeah.
meet both of us.
Yeah.
You can meet both of us. Fight with
But
us.
that happens on an occasional basis. But message me. We could talk a bit more about that if you're interested. But otherwise, Instagram, zinnat ferdous, and then Facebook, zinnat ferdous.
Oh,
for
Facebook.
those.
Hello. The little plug.
Well,
Of course,
listen,
gotta
my
rep it all.
Bangladeshi viewers tend to be in Facebook, so I'm
saying.
starting to like
They're still
amp
over
it
there.
up a little
She's
bit.
Absolutely.
versatile.
Absolutely.
All right, but thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for listening to Zinnat's amazing story. And
Yes.
I hope you guys enjoyed this because I definitely did. Just learning so much about you as a friend, but also just an interviewer. You know, it was great. But thank you so much for coming. And I
Yeah.
hope you guys return for the next one.
Hope so.
Peace out.
Ciao.
Yeah, we love you.
Okay, let me see that punch
See
again.
that?
Let me
See
see that punch again. Oh, okay.
Bye.
Oh,
See
okay.
that?
Okay.
Straight.
All right, see you
No curve
guys.
to that.
Bye.